this is a tutorial about using a SpaceBox Pro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up a SpaceBox Pro TIFF image. So those are the customizable TIFF images that you can purchase from spacebox4d96.com. And these are quite large files. They're up towards about 200 to 500 megs, depending on how many layers there are. So they'll take a bit of time to load. Once they're in Photoshop, I recommend using Photoshop due to the scripts. The export scripts will work that way. You'll probably be able to use other software tools as well that supports layered TIFF images, but I do recommend using Photoshop. So let's have a look. Let's reset the workspace. And when I've loaded a Pro image, you'll see this horizontal cross configuration. And basically everything, most of the space boxes will look very similar. So you'll have a bunch of layers, adjustment layers and art layers that you can work with. And this image is really high resolution, so it's 16,384 by 12,288 pixels. And each of these individual quad images are 4096 by 4096. And I'll go through a few of the things that you can do with the SpaceBox Pro if you want to do some customization. So first, I'll just go through the layer configuration. And the first one is a hue and saturation layer, and that you can, if you double click on it, you'll be able to change the overall colorization of the entire SpaceBox, as you can see. And so this just shifts the colors so you can get into any look that you want. And you can also reduce the saturation if you want, and make a lot grayer, or you can increase it. And you can obviously do the lights as well. So that's just a quick, if you want to make it a little bit different from the ones that you purchase straight off. I'll hide that layer now and go back to normal. And then this is a pre-configured curves adjustment layer as well. And this is to control the contrast of the SpaceBox if you want to. So that's, again, just a preset that you can change. Most of the layers, art layers, are grouped into groups within this layer hierarchy. So if you want to disable the galaxies, for example, you just hide that layer. Show and hide. And again, you can change the saturation of the galaxies themselves, or the saturation as well. Let's hide this one for now. The next one is the nebula noise layer. And the nebula noise is a background noise. And this one is usually set to 25% opacity by default. So if I increase this one, you'll be able to see what that is. So basically it's just a seamless simplex noise texture that's applied throughout the entire SpaceBox. And again, you can shift the saturation and the hue of this layer. Or you could hide it altogether, obviously, and that's what that layer is like. So let's have a look. Go back, and this usually probably looks best around about 30% or less. Should be changing this one, the entire group. If I hide that one as well, the next one you'll have is the nebulas themselves. And again, you can change with the predefined curve to change the contrast of the nebulas, or you can use this hue layer to shift the colorization of them. Okay. And then you'll have a bunch of star layers. The stars near, they're the big stars that you see here. So if I didn't show that one, it's the nearby stars. You can also change the saturation of those, and then increase the saturation, and then shift them towards different colors. So blue stars, maybe that's what you want. And then you'll have one layer called Stars Shade, and that's because all the distant stars, I'll hide the near ones. This is another layer of seamless noise. So what you'll be able to do is, you can see that the stars are not evenly distributed. So if I go in here, for example, if I had that layer, you'll see that the stars are all distributed evenly. And you want some clusterization probably to make it look a bit more random. So this is this is a multiply layer by default, so it'll darken anything. If I put this one to normal, you'll be able to see what this texture actually looks like. And this one, the levels one, is also to change how much you want the clusterization. So anywhere where there's dark here, it will virtually remove any of the stars, and where it's white, it'll keep them the way they are. So if I switch this one back to multiply, you'll be able to see the clusterization of stars now. You can play around with this to get the look and feel that you want. So, and this star shade layer will affect it will affect the between stars and the far stars. So that will give you a basic idea of what you can do by default if you go in here to tweak your SpaceBox. So common features would be to maybe remove some of the stars that you don't want, or if you want to have your own stars and just the nebulous, or if you want to increase or change the saturation or colorization and contrast. That's mainly what you'd probably be doing in this one. So that concludes this part of the tutorial. Thanks for watching.